Happy holidays and welcome to Business Now. I'm Malcolm Sime. We begin this week with our CEO segment where we turn to the spotlight on tax education and capacity building. We bring you insights from the graduation of hundreds of professionals from the East African School of Taxation, an important development highlighting the growing importance of skills development in strengthening compliance, improving domestic revenue mobilization, and supporting sustainable economic growth across the region. This week, as businesses close the year and plan for the next, we also take a closer look at how data, cloud computing, and digital infrastructure are becoming critical tools for cost-cutting and competitiveness, especially for enterprises operating in emerging markets like Uganda. I speak to the Managing Director of Liquid Technologies on how cloud adoption is reshaping enterprise operations, improving efficiency, and lowering operation costs in an increasingly tight economic ecosystem. We also examine Kenya-Uganda trade relations at a time when cross-border commerce within East Africa remains central to regional growth, industrialization, supply chain resilience, and the like. And on the show, we also talk financing development as the Trade and Development Bank TDB Group marks 40 years of supporting trade finance, regional integration, and sustainable development across East and Southern Africa. This is Business Now, but first, let's have a quick look at some of the top business stories being hotly debated across global markets. Global markets are entering a decisive week with investors now closely watching inflation data and central bank signals from the United States, Europe, and Asia. Now, U.S. interest rates remain at multi-year highs above 5%, keeping global borrowing costs elevated and tightening financial conditions. For African economies, you can bring it back home. This environment continues to pressure currencies like the shilling, limiting access to affordable capital and raise the cost of servicing dollar-denominated debt. Oil prices are trending higher this week, with Brent crude trading above the $70 a barrel mark, supported by geopolitical supply concerns despite forecasts of ample global supply. And for African oil exporters such as Nigeria and Angola, farmer prices offer improved fiscal revenues and foreign exchange inflows. However, for oil importing economies like Uganda and Kenya, higher fuel costs risk adding pressure to inflation and transport costs. Japan's business confidence has risen to its highest level in nearly 4 years, reinforcing expectations for the Bank of Japan could move towards tighter monetary policy. Now, a shift away from the ultra-loose policy in the world's third largest economy adds to global liquidity tightening, potentially strengthening the US dollar. For African markets, this raises the risk of capital outflows and higher debt servicing costs, particularly where external debt remains elevated. Let's start with our CEO segment now, because the East African School of Taxation has just held this year's graduation, with hundreds now flagged off to go and support government in revenue collection and awareness in matters tax. This as Uganda's tax to GDP ratio remains at approximately 14%. Even then, a September 2025 World Bank Uganda Economic Update report also puts the ratio at 14% or near there for 2024 and 2025, noting it remains below the 15% threshold needed for accelerated growth and the sub-Saharan African average.
What the school is doing is to train many consultants who understand tax law. And the more people understand tax law, the more they can educate all players in the economy, whether it is traders, companies, businesses, etc. So the more people understand the tax, the more they can comply. Because the tax base as it is today is already wide. It's just that the sector is informal. So not many people are caught or would understand how to comply. But the more people understand how to comply, the more the tax base will widen and the more revenue will be realized by the government. The work that we do is collaborative. The tax authority, for example, the URA will send us people to train. Same thing with the Tax Appeals Tribunal, the Minister of Finance, other private sector institutions, they send their finance people, accounts people. We work with everyone to try and build a network of tax professionals to try and improve compliance.
As a developing country, our tax base is still relatively narrow. partly because as citizens we have not appreciated our role and the purpose for which we are supposed to be paying taxes. And I think the more of the practical tax and revenue experts are generated, the better. The advantage with the East African School of Taxation is that their training is practical and it relates directly with the day-to-day activities as opposed to academic. And I think that is where we see their role as strongly as being the bridge between the tax authorities and the taxpayers so that they create the awareness and they soften the ground and improve the willingness of the population to pay taxes.
And on Tech Now, we talk technology and enterprise operations as costs rise and margins tighten. Uganda enterprises are increasingly turning to data analytics and cloud computing to streamline operations and reduce expenditure. Now, I spoke to the managing director of Liquid Telco Technologies on how cloud infrastructure, you can talk of data centers, are enabling businesses to scale smarter, keep the data secure, and remain competitive in the digital economy.
So generally what the cloud is it's a technology that allows people to move storage of data off of their personal devices and into a location which is accessible wherever you have connectivity. To the layman's perception, as soon as you select on your phone, save something to Google Cloud, it goes to a machine which is located in a data center like this one. So Liquid, as a backbone operator with over 100,000 kilometers of fiber in Africa, we generally connect the different data centers, both our own and other people's, to the backbone, which now enables somebody who has internet connectivity to access the data stored on these machines. As you see, there are very many different kinds of machines here. Some of them are networking equipment, some of them are servers. And the answer to your question is yes, we're very safe here. We have several facilities, both in Uganda and other countries, where we do what's called replication. So we may have a copy of your data here and at a second location. In case there's some kind of environmental failure, we can still recover your data from that second location. So data storage and backup is something very critical to business. I think that every business needs to be aware of the risks that they run. And also, we're moving into an era of data privacy and data protection. As you're aware, Uganda passed a Data Privacy Act by law, and there's a data protection office. And one of the things that comes up frequently with data protection is, where is the data, like you asked? And here we can decisively tell the data protection office that we're safely and securely storing the data inside the boundaries of Uganda. We offer co-location services. In the event you want to bring your servers here physically, we can give you space in a rack like this one.
Oh, yes.
And we
empty racks.
Yes.
Like
yeah, and then we would lock it and secure it for you.
I take it out of my office.
Yes, you take it out of your office, you
create more space.
You create more space, you save on your air conditioning bill and all of that. Secondly, if you prefer to keep a site at your office, we can, over the internet or any other network, we can copy and back up the data to our servers. And then we can keep a copy here and you can keep one at your office. So if you talk about microfinance, one of the points under the regulation is safe and secure storage of the information of your customers, and also being sure that you have adequate backup facilities of this data in the event of a disaster. So I think that for microfinance, number one is, where's the data kept? I believe under data protection, there are specific locations where the data must be kept for specific kinds of data. Secondly, of course, you'll have discussions with your customers and how far back the history do you have. And this is the kind of facility that enables you to have that information on demand. When you want that information, you can just request it over the network and have it at your fingertips. The security of storing your data in an information technology environment is you can always define how many copies you want to have and how they can be recovered. And so you run very low risk of having a total loss of data. One of the big advantages we have in this market is Uganda has an excess of power generation capacity at the current time. And in addition to that, it's almost 100% green energy, in that it's derived from renewable sources, be it hydro, solar, or wind. So I think we're very sustainable. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're on a commercial rate being an industry, but I think that within the general region, Uganda has a competitive rate for electricity, and I think that we also factor this into our planning so that we make sure that we take advantage of the best opportunities. I actually think that business and individuals are starting to see more and more value from the cloud, both in terms of data backup, data storage, data replication, and also data analysis and AI. So I think as we move into the era of what we call big data and artificial intelligence and analysis, there'll be more and more value from storing your information in the cloud with a provider like Liquid. Yeah, we definitely predict high uptake of cloud connectivity and other data-related services, including AI, in the near future. And correspondingly, we're making big investments, both as Liquid Intelligent Technologies in Uganda, as well as at a group level in these areas, in the areas of AI, data centers, and cloud capabilities. In addition to that, we have an offering we call Secure 360. This is a managed service whereby a customer can come to Liquid and say, look, I'm not an expert in cybersecurity, but you guys are. And we can offer you what we call a 360 security solution that addresses all aspects of data security within your organization. One of our offerings specifically targeting that market is the Microsoft Azure Stack. And this is an opportunity to have all the technologies that you would expect on the Microsoft Cloud, but locally hosted. This gives you several advantages, both in terms of the latency, which is the perceived speed to the user, and also in terms of the data protection and privacy, because you're 100% sure where your data is stored and who is keeping it for you.
This is Business Now. We're now going to take a short break, and when we come back, we dive more into today's program. Now, turning to regional trade, Kenya and Uganda remain key trading partners, with cross-border trade underpinning manufacturing, agriculture, and services across the region. As East Africa pushes for deeper integration, we bring you messages from diplomats who attended the Kenya-Uganda Independence Day, and I beg your pardon, the Kenya Independence Day, and they spoke exports, they spoke businesses and regional supply chains.
We come together to honor and commemorate the sacrifices, resilience, and unyielding spirit of our heroes and heroines, men and women, both past and present, whose contributions have shaped and continue to inspire the destiny of our nation. I want to mention the fact that Kenya and Uganda remain each other's leading trading partners, and this symbiotic relationship continues to underpin cooperation across key sectors of our economies, particularly in trade, investment, and tourism. Kenya remains determined to continue strengthening the already fruitful cooperation with the Republic of Uganda, a relationship anchored in our shared history, bound by kinship across our borders, sustained by vibrant trade and investment, and reinforced by our common vision for peace, stability, and prosperity within the region. Indeed, the recent launch of the Devik mega steel plant in Tororo, a major industrial project estimated to cost over $500 million that was graced by His Excellency President William Ruto and his counterpart, His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, on November 23rd, 2025, allow me to state that Kenya has embarked on a very ambitious and wide-ranging infrastructure expansion program with a central focus on upgrading the Northern Corridor as our region's most important transport artery, ranking the port of Mombasa to Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan, and the broader Great Lakes region.
The governments of both countries have enhanced regional and continental cooperation through organizations such as the African Union, EAC, COMESA, and IGAD. This level of cooperation has enabled both countries to cooperate on regional peace and security initiatives, refugee issues, and trade that has enhanced the livelihoods of the people of East Africa as a community. The good neighborliness has enabled peaceful coexistence, peaceful conflict resolution among the border cattle corridors and the border trade among the people of two countries, with the private sector, civil society organizations, and academia all playing a role in reinforcing the deep and strong bond of two nations. We are especially grateful for Kenya's long-standing support in regional peace and security initiatives, with a significant contribution towards the East African Standby Force and the AU peace support-led commitments in Somalia, South Sudan, and DRC.
And finally, financing Africa's growth, the Trade and Development Bank Group is marking 40 years of supporting trade, infrastructure and economic integration across Eastern Southern Africa. Now, throughout 2025, that was happening. TDB has been celebrating this milestone under the theme Innovating Solutions to Accelerate Sustainable Development, and then highlighting its evolving role in financing Africa's long-term growth.
We have listened to the leadership of this continent. We've always known that what is referred to as COMESA, the Common Market of Eastern and Southern Africa, was just a building block to a bigger dream of a united Africa. And as we started to listen to the continent beginning to reorganize itself, something called the tripartite was formed. Because if you know our legal name, we were always known as the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank. But those of you who know this region, we suffer from a disease called clubism. That disease of clubism, you have COMESA, you have the East African Community, you have IGAD, you have Southern African Development Community, and you have something called the Indian Ocean Commission too. 5 clubs in this, only in our part of Africa. And we were created in the name of COMESA, which was the strong and the biggest institutional grouping. But in the statutes, in the constitution, they said you had to be a member of COMESA to join. So already we had this clubism problem. If you were South Sudan, which is not a member of COMESA, you couldn't join. If you were Mozambique and Tanzania, you're not a member of COMESA, you couldn't join. If you're Botswana and Angola, you couldn't join. So we said, well, let's take it to the next level. So we basically amended our constitution the first time. We embraced all the clubs. We said, we don't care which club you belong to, as long as you're in the neighborhood, you belong in this bank.
This occasion, marked by the launch of the coffee table book, is not merely commemoration, but an opportunity to reflect on the bank's journey of institutional evolution and its enduring commitment to Africa's development. The transformation of this bank from the PTA Bank in 1985, as the President has told us, and the Mary, to what it is today, a modern and innovative group, is a testament to strategic leadership and unwavering dedication to regional integration. What began as a financial arm of the preferential trade area has grown into a world-class development finance institution, now central to economic architecture of the COMESA and beyond. Over the past 4 decades, TDB Group has expanded its portfolio, strengthened its governance, diversified its products, and built a reputation for professionalism and impact. This evolution has allowed the bank to respond effectively to Africa's changing development landscape, supporting trade, financing strategic investments, including those that you have had have happened here in Uganda, but also backing private sector growth across the continent. But also value addition require bold financing mechanisms, and the TDB Group has consistently stepped forward to bridge the gaps where the traditional financing is limited or inaccessible. From infrastructure to agriculture to manufacturing to SMEs, the bank has demonstrated unwavering commitment to transforming our economies in Africa into competitive, resilient, and inclusive growth hubs. In doing so, the TDB has helped foster regional value chains, supported capital formation, and opened pathways for millions of Africans to participate in economic prosperity. We are all aware that Africa still faces significant infrastructure gaps, insufficient energy capacity, inadequate transport corridors, limited digital infrastructure, and logistical bottlenecks that raise the cost of doing business for the private sector. But with every challenge lies opportunity. TDB has the capacity to be a catalyst for mobilizing blended finance, partnering with governments and private investors, championing projects that unlock regional connectivity. By doing so, the bank can help us become gateways for inclusive development, where trade flows seamlessly, industries flourish, but also innovation thrives.
That's all we had for you on this week's edition of Business Now. Catch the repeat of this show on Friday afternoon and on our YouTube channel. And for more updates, follow me on X at Malcolm Sime. Read the Daily Monitor for business updates, the East African and Business Daily. And don't forget to subscribe to all our platforms and enjoy timely news, in-depth and excellent analysis of events that are happening in our regional economy.